My name is Alexander. Later, they would call me Great. But in the beginning, I was just a boy from Pella, the capital of Macedonia, a kingdom on the edge of the Greek world. I was born on a warm July day in the year 356 before our era. My father was Philip II, a king, a conqueror, a reformer. My mother was Olympias, a princess of Epirus, a priestess, a woman with a fiery soul and boundless faith in my destiny. They said she believed I was the son of Zeus. And truth be told, sometimes I believed it too. From my earliest days, I knew I was destined for greatness. That feeling never left me, not for a moment. While other children were content with games and stories, I craved battles, books, debates. My father raised me harshly but fairly. He wanted me to be not just an heir, but a leader capable of holding an empire. My mother instilled in me the belief that I was born to surpass all others. This blend, stern discipline and boundless ambition, shaped me into who I became. My mentor was none other than Aristotle. By then, he was already a revered philosopher, a student of Plato, a man who knew nearly everything there was to know in those times. I was 13 when he came to Mieza, specifically to teach me. He taught me to see cause and effect, to distinguish truth from falsehood, and introduced me to logic, ethics, physics, and metaphysics. We discussed the soul, the nature of things, gods, stars, and animals. He gave me the works of Homer, and I devoured the exploits of Achilles. I wanted to be like him, a hero, immortal in the memory of men. They say I even slept with a copy of the Iliad under my pillow. But philosophy did not consume all my days. I learned to fight. I trained with sword and spear, mastered horsemanship, and shot a bow. I tamed Bucephalus, a wild horse no one else could ride. I was only 12, and my father said, "Macedonia is too small for you, my son. Seek a kingdom to match your soul." When I was 16, my father entrusted me with governing the state while he waged war. Even then, I led armies, crushed a rebellion in Thrace, and founded a city named after myself, Alexandropol. But everything changed when Philip was murdered. It was sudden. I was 20. The assassin was his bodyguard, Pausanias. Who was behind it, we will never know for certain. Rumors swirled that my mother orchestrated the plot. I never spoke of it. My duty was different, not to seek culprits, but to hold power. After my father's death, I swiftly and ruthlessly secured the throne. I eliminated all potential rivals, even my cousin and Philip's son by another wife. These were cruel decisions, but without them, I would not have lasted a month. Macedonian nobles respected strength, and I showed it. The Greeks thought that with Philip gone, Macedonian influence would wane. Athens, Thebes, and other cities raised their heads. But I marched south. I took Thebes, razed it nearly to the ground, sparing only the house of the poet Pindar and those who sought refuge in temples. I did this not out of cruelty, I made it clear. I was not weak, and no one would challenge me without consequences. With Hellas subdued once more, I gathered an army. 30,000 infantry, 5,000 cavalry. We crossed the Hellespont, the very strait through which the Persians once marched on Athens. I stepped onto the soil of Asia. It was my step into immortality. The first major battle was at the Granicus River. The Persian army awaited us at the ford. They urged me not to attack head-on, but I knew a lightning strike would show who was master. I led the charge myself, was wounded in the head, but we triumphed. It was the first crack in the great empire of Darius III. I pressed on, south through Asia Minor. Cities surrendered one after another. In Gordian, I cut the famous knot, which, according to legend, could only be untied by the future ruler of Asia. I did not bother to solve the puzzle. I took my sword and severed it. That was my answer to fate. Next came the Battle of Issus. The Persian king Darius himself led his army. They outnumbered us, vastly. but I struck at the center, broke through to Darius. He fled. His family, his mother, wife, and children, fell into my hands. I treated them with respect. I was no barbarian. I did not seek humiliation. I sought victory. I moved further south. I aimed to subdue the entire eastern Mediterranean coast, to deprive the Persians of their fleet. I passed through Phoenicia, took Byblos, Sidon. But Tyre, a proud, wealthy city on an island, refused to yield. The siege lasted 7 months. I built a causeway, linking the island to the mainland. We advanced with catapults and battering rams. The city fell. It was brutal. I allowed my troops to slaughter. It was a lesson for the rest. Then Egypt. They welcomed me as a liberator. I brought peace. In Alexandria, the city I founded, I saw the future. There, rivers of knowledge converged, Greek, Egyptian, Eastern. I journeyed to the oasis of Siwa, to the temple of Ammon. The priests declared me a son of the god. I did not argue. Deep in my soul, I felt it was true, or I wanted to believe it. After Egypt, I turned east. The greatest battle awaited us, at Gaugamela. Darius had amassed an army, perhaps the largest in history at that time. They say it numbered over 200,000. We were about 40,000. But I struck at the center again, broke through again, and Darius fled again. His army collapsed. I entered Babylon, then Susa, then Persepolis. I stood in halls where Persian kings had ruled Asia for centuries. I was at the pinnacle, but it was not enough. In Persepolis, in a drunken haze, I ordered the palace of Xerxes to be burned. At first, it was in a drunken rage, as if in revenge for the burning of Athens. But later, I regretted it. It was a moment when I felt I was beginning to lose control over myself, over the army, over the purpose. Darius was soon killed by his own satraps. I pursued them, not out of vengeance, but principle. I would not allow a king to be murdered without consequence. I caught Bessus, one of the conspirators. I executed him, in the Eastern way, nailed to a cross. But it was not enough. I pressed deeper into Bactria, Sogdiana. The war became an endless chain of rebellions, battles, pacifications. I began marrying local princesses, overturning old customs, adopting Persian traditions. My warriors did not like it, but I believed if we were to unite the world, we had to embrace it, not merely subdue it. I married Roxana, a girl from Sogdiana. She was not a political alliance. She captivated me. I was enchanted. It was a rare moment when I felt not power, but warmth. More and more, I felt loneliness. Those who had marched with me from the beginning grew weary. Some rebelled. I began to suspect everyone. My old friend Philotas, executed. His father, Parmenion, too. I no longer knew who I could trust. Sometimes not even myself. After subduing Sogdiana and Bactria, I did not stop. India called to me. Beyond the Indus River lay a world known only through tales and legends. They spoke of elephants, impregnable cities, and sages who lived among forests, nourished by truth. But that was not what drew me. It was the unknown. I wanted to reach the very edge of the world. We crossed the Hindu Kush. We marched through deserts, rivers, forests. Men died, from thirst, from cold, from exhaustion. But I pressed forward, and they followed me. In the valley of the Hydaspes River, we were met by the Indian king Porus. He brought elephants, a bronze wall gleaming under the rain. We fought in the mud, amid storms and lightning. I nearly perished. My horse, Bucephalus, was mortally wounded. Yet we prevailed. I showed respect to Porus. I left him his kingdom. I was a conqueror, not a senseless destroyer. There, I founded a city in honor of Bucephalus. I named it Bucephalia. How could I not immortalize my friend who carried me through countless battles. I was grateful to him, as if he were a living man. But then my soldiers refused to go further. We stood on the banks of the Ganges, and they said, "Enough." I argued, pleaded, raged. I wanted to conquer everything. But I realized the army no longer followed me. And so I yielded. I turned the troops around and began the Ross, the journey home. The return was grueling. We marched through the Gedrosian desert. It was a trial comparable only to death itself. Men died by the dozens. The heat was unbearable. The sand devoured caravans. We lost more than in any battle. It was a punishment. I felt as though the gods had decided to remind me that I was, after all, human. Back in Babylon, I began to forge the empire into one. I arranged marriages between Macedonians and Eastern women. I wanted our army to become a new people, not Greek, not Persian, but imperial. I continued to reform the state, blending Persian traditions with Macedonian culture. Many did not understand this. They accused me of betrayal. I felt a growing chasm between me and my old friends. Those who had marched with me from Greece to India no longer recognized me. I barely recognized myself. When Hephaestion, my friend, my brother, my closest companion, died, I was shattered. I wept. I fasted. I neither ate nor drank nor spoke. I gave him a funeral fit for a king. It was a loss I never overcame. My health began to fail. I felt weakness. My body no longer obeyed me as it once had. Yet I did not stop building. I dreamed of new campaigns. To Arabia, perhaps to Carthage. I wanted to unite the entire known world. In the spring, I fell ill. In a fever, with searing heat, I lay in Babylon, in my palace. Priests, warriors, friends, and enemies surrounded me. I could not speak. The army waited. They came to me, one by one. I looked into their eyes. It was my farewell. They asked, to whom I would leave the empire. Barely moving my lips, I whispered, to the worthy. Those two words shattered the world. At the age of 32, 10 days before summer, I died. My body did not decay for many days. People said it was a sign of divine nature. My body never returned to Macedonia, Egypt, Alexandria. Where it rests, no one knows. Perhaps that question, like so many tied to me, will remain forever. After my death, the struggle began. The empire fractured. Those who stood by my side became enemies. Each tore at my legacy. The Diadochi, my generals, my comrades. Some perished, some founded dynasties. Some were remembered as successors, not creators. The empire died, but the idea lived on. I was cruel, but just. Ambitious, but not mad. I dreamed not merely of power, but of the fusion of peoples. I wanted East and West to become one body, for there to be no distinction between Macedonian and Persian, between Hellene and Egyptian. Some will say I was a madman, others that I was a god. But the truth is, I was human. A human who stepped beyond the possible. I saw what no one before me had seen. I was the one who marched from the shores of the Aegean to the jungles of India. And even as death claimed me, I knew. I left not only conquests, I left a legend. I was Alexander, not merely a king, not merely a commander. I was the embodiment of a dream, and my story will live forever. And you must subscribe to this channel. I not say goodbye.